What should you be asking yourself as a broker to see whether your policy, your renewal system is as good as it could be?
Okay, I think there's a real danger that a broker looks after all his clients on the same basis, so everybody gets the same amount of treatment. I've also believed that inherently brokers' clients are more loyal than an insurer's clients are. So if you look at retention rates, most brokers would claim 90+% retention. Any insurer would dream, they'd die for those sort of levels of retention. So in an insurer world, if you're anything over 80 is probably pretty good. 90 is a pipe dream. So inherently, the broker's clients are loyal, and there is a reluctance, generally speaking, for that client to seek an alternative program. So against that backdrop, I think it's really important for a broker to differentiate between the loyal customers and those customers who are more likely to put them at risk or under pressure. I've always believed, in all my 40 years in insurance, I've always believed for every 10 clients, from a broker's perspective, 7 will renew, 3 will put you under pressure, and of those 3, possibly 2, probably 2 will renew with you, but you might have to demonstrate your value and worth, and 1 might be thinking about leaving you. I've always believed that if the attention is deployed in the right area and the resource apportioned appropriately, and the focus is on those 3, particularly throughout the renewal process, you are more likely to get 100% retention. And all too often, I haven't seen that in the broker's world, of having that insight as they go into the renewal cycle of who could be vulnerable. So I think with the RAG process, I think at the very outset, there's an expectation on the account handler just to spend a few minutes at the very outset of the process to say, what's happened to that client? Who is that client? What happened last year? Has anything happened in the current year, whether it's claims, whether it's the covers that could make that client vulnerable?
A pandemic.
Exactly. Have they had a claim that wasn't handled particularly well by the insurer, or was there an element of underinsurance? Whatever it is, what makes that client more vulnerable? And if there's an awareness at the outset, an early contact is made with that client at the outset, I think that gives you a real sort of clear indication of the desire and the commitment to renew. And that can set the tone for all the activities and the work that you do subsequently. And indeed, from a director's point of view, or the senior management team, that there is then a clear insight into which cases they should be involved with from the outset. But the vast majority of cases, they don't necessarily need to get involved, because the commercial account handler will be well capable of renewing those cases on their own.
A couple of things you said there really, really key. Whether the 7 to 70-30 percentage rule will be slightly changed in the current climate is question with all that's happening with the market and COVID-19. But regardless of that, it's having the insight from the outset. And one of the things that builds on a webinar that we've recently run across the industry actually feeds into what you're saying about if you're switching it from how do I make sure my retention rate is 95% to which of my clients have particular vulnerabilities. And it might not be that they want to move from you. It might just be that the markets you have in place to place them aren't going to work. So let's deal with that really at the outset. And so it's just highlighting those particular vulnerabilities, whether it's that client's balance sheet, whether it's their placement strategy, whether it is their promiscuous client, whoever knows. But I just think it's really interesting because it feeds into a lot of the work that we've been doing for Boston Tullis.
Right. I also think from the outset it gives you an opportunity to explore upsells and cross-sells. And we've had some examples of brokers achieving their targets with very little new business, but just by actually effectively increasing the renewal retention rate, but also the premium at renewal. And not only is that giving most appropriate advice to the client, it's also helping the broker's own numbers. So I think people talk about upsell and cross-sell, but it's not inherently in brokers' DNA to adopt a very systematic, consistent procedure to go about it. And I think that is an area that could be really add value for any business. I really do.